guys. We're almost done with the semester. Congrats. Attendance sheet coming around. And so kind of just a rundown today, we're going to have our guest presentation. I'm going to give you some updates on membership, attendance. I got some more information on the AOTA conference from campus, so I'll give you guys that info, and then kind of go over dean's reimbursement, honors courts, go over volunteer information, and then just general reminders. So I'm going to pass it over to our guest presentation.
Great. Where do you need me to stand?
Either on this side or this side, and I've got the recording.
Like,
so you're not in the light.
yeah, these are brochures. I own Amaryllis Therapy Network, which is a PDF. And also my cards. So please help yourself and pass them around. Does this work?
Yeah, that works great.
Cool. So Carrie asked me to talk about pediatric therapy, talk about how I got into pediatric therapy. Mostly, I want to answer you guys' questions. So whatever questions you have to make sure that you get this answered. So I've been an OT for about 37 years. When I was in undergrad school, I had no idea what I wanted to go into. And I finally took a course of life planning for women. And my interest came up rated very high to male musicians and female occupational therapists. So I chose a profession that did not require surgery. And went with that one, and I've been very happy ever since. So, I've worked in peds my entire career. Adults are okay, but I'd really much rather work in pediatrics. Although that said, when you work with children, you work with adults because you work with their parents, you work with their teachers, their caregivers, whoever the adults are in their life. So it's not like I'm not working with them at all. I've worked in school settings. I've worked in early intervention programs, both center-based and community-based. I've worked in private therapy clinics. I've avoided hospitals at all costs just because I'm not a big fan of working in hospitals. And I started my practice in 2002. So we've been open for about 17 years. And it grew from just myself driving around in my car to now I have a clinic over on the edge of Lakeside over there. And we have OTPT speech therapy. We teach classes. We do trainings for professionals. We do lots of different stuff along those lines. Myself, currently, I'm working with mothers and babies who are having difficulty with breast and bottle feeding. And so I am working on co-occupation. So the mother's ability to feed her baby as well as the baby's ability to eat. So I love that I can blend absolutely everything that I've ever learned and done all into sessions of supporting new moms. So that's what I've been focusing myself on the last, I would say 4 years, 5 years, focusing on that. Questions? You guys, somebody had questions about assessments, pediatric assessments?
I know the OT2s are currently in our first pediatrics class, and there's so many different like assessments, and just I think trying to figure out when to use certain assessments and how often do you use assessments. And
it really good questions. Those all really depend on the setting that you're in. So your setting is going to determine which assessments you're going to be using. But that said, the most critical part of your assessment is your clinical observations. Hands down, regardless of where you work, your clinical observations are key. That's what makes us different as OTs, is our ability to be able to sit back and look at the whole client, look at the whole picture, look at the whole family, look at the whole everything. So yes, the assessment is important. So say the child's doing the BMI and they're copying some designs. So, and you're going to score that and get a score, but that score doesn't mean a whole lot without all the context that goes along with it. Of how was that child were they even able to sit in a chair? How were they sitting on the chair? Were they cross-legged, legs dangling? Was that child able to follow directions? Was getting into the setting, was the child able to take their coat off? You know, all the many other observations that are going to happen in addition to whatever the test is that you are giving. Those are equally as important. Some settings definitely require a standardized score. And so you do need to be comfortable in scoring and doing math. You can do it, I promise. And all of those kinds of things. But many settings don't necessarily require a standardized score. So again, it depends on where you're working. But absolutely, those clinical observations are going to help you get a picture about that child and the parent. You are also observing if a parent comes with their child. You are taking in observations about that parent as well. Or if you're in a school setting, what's that classroom like? So to really hone in and develop your observation skills. An instance that stands out for me quite a few years ago, I was shared office space in a school setting with a PT and a couple other OTs, and we had a student there, and we were all observing one of the therapists evaluating the child, and I had 3 pages of notes, and the new grad had about half a page of notes, because I was looking at absolutely everything. Everything to me is important. And then when I go to write my evaluation, I can sift through it and find what are the patterns? What is the picture of this child? And parents really, really appreciate that when you're able to see their child as a person, not as a disability. Absolutely, person first. So identifying what was great about their kid. What did you like about their kid? I always include something to that effect when I'm writing about something positive that the child did, and then maybe I can write lots of positive things, but often some kids are struggling so much that it can be hard to come up with something positive, but they're still a child, they're still a person. So absolutely person first. Okay. Did I answer all 3 questions?
That I had, yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so please ask, what do you want to know? Yeah.
I have a question just about the classes that you offer. First of all, the ones for parents and caregivers, just educational classes. I'd love to hear more about that. And then also maybe specific classes for different children and what they look like.
Okay. So for parents, we have infant massage class where new parents learn how to massage their babies. So they come with their baby to the class. We also have roly-poly class, which is a gross motor, sensory motor group, working on motor development. And again, it's focused on both the parent and the baby at the same time, so they're interacting together. Kid classes, we have yoga classes on Saturday. I'll just put a plug. We're always looking for volunteers to help out with yoga classes. And that's for kids of all abilities, kind of 4 to 10-year-olds, kind of in that range. Other kid classes depends on the time of year. We tend to do more in the summer when they're out of school. We'll usually have some kind of a social skills class, group, camp. People call them all different kinds of things. Handwriting, especially we like to do handwriting boot camp right before school starts to help some kids get warmed up so they're ready to hit the ground running when they get to school. What else? For the big kids, it's kind of an informal group. We call it the men's group. And it's boys that are kind of 10 and up on Thursday evenings. And it's a group, each child has their own individual therapist, but the therapists kind of back out so that the boys are working on how to interact with each other. And they usually have a structured activity as well as a variety of different things. So they learn how to interact with each other, how do you take turns when you're 14 and you didn't learn it when you were 4, you know, that kind of thing. So that's been a really fun group. In terms for professionals, I train therapists to become infant massage instructors. So I have that class a couple times a year. We host a number of different bodywork type classes, movement-based learning, the reflex MNRI, reflex integration classes. Our sister clinic, which is the Mariposa Center, provides counseling and mental health services. And so we share some of our actual physical space as well as clients. A number of our clients come to both. And they do a lot of brain-based trauma recovery for caregivers, because often as caregivers, we develop secondary trauma with many of our clients, as well as they do the same class for parents and or for professionals. And then depending on they have a lot of different interns, they have different classes going on. So classes are a great way for kids to work on social interaction skills. And the way I have my clinic set up is there's very few individual treatment spaces. A lot of our treatment space is shared space. So even though they're getting individual therapy, they're in a shared space because so many of our kids are having challenges. How do they interact with other kids? How can they be in the same room? All of those kinds of things. So it provides natural opportunities for kids to work on social interaction skills as well as the therapeutic goals that they're working on. So we set the environment to do that on purpose. What else? What other questions? Let me put this down before I smash it.
What are some of like the most, I don't know, things that are emerging in practice, especially in the pediatrics field that you're seeing a lot of trend toward, or things that are coming up that are looking to be very effective that you're maybe trying to integrate or trying to kind of move in a direction?
Couple of different things. There's definitely strong interest in maternal child health combined, the co-occupation that I was talking about, of creating maternal health subset within OT or specialty, of looking at, and especially because we're treating mom and baby and all together, not just individually, that they come as a group. And really looking at that, I think, in other areas of pediatrics as well. There's a lot going on with underlying foundational brain-based techniques and activities that we find to be very powerful, that we use a lot. So for instance, with primary reflex integration, that many of our kids' reflexes are unintegrated. And when I learned about reflexes in school, it was really in the context of kids with cerebral palsy, and that we would be how to avoid those reflexes, setting them off. Whereas now we have the capability of integrating the reflexes, not just working around them or compensating for them. So, which to me is extremely exciting. So we can make huge changes in kids' nervous systems through integrating reflexes, through really getting their brains and bodies working together in a positive way. And not every setting is able to focus on that. So we do a lot of the underlying foundational skills as well as occupation, whereas I would say in some settings, especially like in schools, they're going to be focusing more directly on the occupation itself. So again, it's going to really vary from setting to setting. What else?
Switching gears a little bit. So as a director, what kind of things do you look for in a new graduate potentially to be hired by your company?
Mm-hmm. So I look for a number of things. I look for curiosity. Is the person who's interviewing, what is their curiosity level like? What do they want to learn about? What do they come in, what skills do they come in terms of interaction skills? Because techniques, those we can teach you. So it's what I'm looking for is, how do you get along with others? Do you enjoy working as a member of a team? Are you eager to share what you know and get more information? Are you the kind of person that says, wow, there's just not enough hours in the day to learn everything I want to learn. I can't afford to go to every course that I want to go to, all those kinds of things. And a willingness to support parents as part of being in the team. I know for myself, when I was a new grad, that working with parents was very intimidating. Because it is, you're like, oh my God, I have the responsibility of this little child, and et cetera, et cetera. And to be able to, you're not even sure about what you know and don't know, and then you're trying to explain it to a parent, all of those kinds of things. But parents play a big role in our therapies. So that's also something that I look for, is how comfortable is the individual in terms of communicating with a parent, and how comfortable are you in saying, I don't know, but let me get the answer for you, because I still don't know the answer to everything at all. And so there's a lot of times I will say to a parent, I'm not sure, but let me see what I can find out, or let me talk to one of my colleagues, or I'm going to have one of my colleagues come in and take a look because I'm not sure what I'm seeing here, because I don't know everything. And I don't expect anyone coming in to know everything, but I expect people to be open and excited about learning. Okay. What else? Good questions. Yeah.
What would a session feeding with a child and a mother look like?
So for me, for my sessions, typically I'm doing a combination of things. So I am using oral motor exercise techniques. I use Deborah Beckman's techniques. I also use the MNRI facial reflex integration. I also use movement-based learning, and I also use a type of manual therapy called neurovascular integration, very similar to cranial psychotherapy. So I'm using that combination directly on the baby. I'm usually talking with them. I work on a massage table, so kind of like one of these tables. I'm sitting on one side, the parents on the other, and I'm working on the baby in between. And I do everything gloved, hands, I'm in their mouth, checking to see what's going on with their tongue, what's their sucking reflex like, is the chewing reflex coming in, how much range of motion do they have, all of those kinds of things. So I'm doing this and talking at the same time. It takes a while to be able to talk and do at the same time, doesn't it? Yes, it does. But it just takes practice. You guys will get there, believe me. And a lot of what I'm doing is supporting the mom. So I'm asking questions about, how are they doing with the exercises? Were they able to get them in? What are they seeing? What is she seeing for changes? What is she frustrating? And when the mom comes in, I start with kind of how she presents. Sometimes when a mom comes in very teary-eyed, I'm going to start right there, like, wow, what's going on? And I might just, even especially if the baby's screaming, I'm going to be more comforting the baby and letting the mom talk about what's going on, what's not going on, her frustration, especially moms. There's a lot of social media and pressure now to breastfeed, whereas I've seen it cycle. 20 years ago, there's a lot of pressure to bottle feed, to stop breastfeeding. So it's one of those that goes in waves, absolutely. So talking with moms about and supporting them in the amazing job that they are doing, raising their baby, because they're doing it on like zero sleep. Their hormones are all whacked out. They are trying to feed, and it's like having pliers applied to their nipples, and they're like, nobody told me it was going to be like this. It always looks so beautiful in the social media stuff. So often I am using a bottle with the baby, or the mom may be breastfeeding, one or either. I am not a lactation consultant. I probably know just enough to be dangerous, but I'm not. But I know some OTs that do become also lactation consultants in addition, if that's primarily what they're working on. One of our speech therapists is a lactation consultant, so I will sometimes call her in for questions if I'm like, I'm not sure about a position or different things like that. So the sessions range from 30 to 60 minutes, depending on, truthfully, their insurance, which is a disgusting story, but that's what we have to live with. It is that our therapy is based on what insurance will cover, what it will pay, which is true in all settings, unfortunately, that take insurance. So depending on how long, and getting your timing down in a session, especially with kids, is something that takes practice and work on it. And you can work on it with typical kids, but they're a great thing to work on those transitions. So which kids, you've got to start 10 minutes out to get them out the door, because it's going to take them that long to transition, whereas other kids are just going to put on their shoes and leave and be done in 1 minute. So it's those transitions. And the same thing now with the moms that I work with. I have some moms that they would stay there all day if they could. But I have other moms who are like 20 minutes and they're done. So after I've gotten to know them a little better, I have a better idea of how to move the session along so that they're supported, the baby gets work done, the mom's able to do some feeding, and I'm able to give them some home program ideas or whatever they're working on, and they're able to get out the door. And it does. It just takes practice to get your timing down. Some therapists are better at it than others. Executive functioning is a challenge for many of my colleagues. So it's who we are as people. So whatever works for you, besides looking at your phone as a clock, I encourage you to not use your phone as a clock in sessions, because it sets, I think, a bad example, because then patients feel comfortable using their phones in a session, which anytime you're using the phone, it takes away from the child that's in there. And the kids know it and they feel it. So to use a clock on the wall, use a watch. Some people are like, watch, what's that? But to use something besides your phone to keep your timing down. I'm pretty lucky in that my timing is, I've gotten it down, but sometimes I'll have a parent that blows me out of the water where I'm like, whoa, I didn't see that coming, and they'll be like running 15 minutes over. But you do what you can do.
So what codes do you typically bill then?
Again, that is insurance dependent. So 97530, therapeutic activities, which that covers a wide range of things. In general, that is a higher paying code. So that's generally what I bill. I also bill manual therapy, 97140, when I'm doing almost exclusively the neurovascular integration. 97112, neuromuscular re-ed. Many of the babies that I see have had surgery. They've had a tongue or lip tie release. And so basically we are re-educating their muscles on how to move. So I will use that one as well. Most of my evaluations, I bill moderate complexity, OT moderate complexity, 97166, I think it is. And in addition, I usually bill treatment codes and I document, because I provide treatment as part of my session in addition to assessment. So it all happens, especially with the babies, it all happens together, that we're doing evaluation, treatment, just sort of blends and flows. So those are the codes. I did have my board certification in pediatrics. I let it go a couple of years because I just couldn't keep up with the requirements for it at that particular time. I'm still sad about that. I might go for it again. But I felt like it was important in terms of people from other therapy fields recognize board certification. That because doctors are board certified in certain specialties. So if you guys are thinking about a specific area that you really want to focus on and there's a specialty certification for you, I would encourage you to think about that, because there was certainly a certain amount of respect that went with that. A lot of people trying to figure out what the alphabet at the end of your name means. And you're like, what does it mean? But also just when people hear board certified, they're like, something to think about. I know you're just trying to get through school. It's okay. What else?
So like, along with time management, are there any questions that you ask parents that like really set them off on a tangent? Like specific questions, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Or other questions that are maybe more, they're not going to dive so deep into whatever's going on.
Right. I'm trying to think if there's anything in particular with brand new babies and moms asking about how did the birth go can really bring a lot, depending on what happened with that child. But it also lets me know where that parent is. Like I just started seeing a new little baby. She's 5 months and she was in the NICU for 97 days. Very long time. And so it gives me a lot of insight into, as her mother presented the information, very factual, you know, like here's the story in a nutshell, in terms of how this mom processes, you know, that we're not going to do a lot of fluff. She's got it down to an art and science and don't mess with it too much. So how can I support her in her routine and those kinds of things. So again, paying attention to how are people communicating with you. It just really varies by parent as to how, what what their concerns are. Sometimes we will get parents of kids who are like 5 and 6 years old who then feel very guilty. They're like, why didn't I see this? Why didn't I know? I didn't know about sensory processing. I didn't know, I just thought my kid was a bad kid or stuff like that. So some parents coming from that perspective of helping them understand that you only know what you know. So, and not everybody that came in contact with their child would be aware of sensory processing disorder or other challenges like that. So helping parents have a lot of guilt. I don't know if any of you are parents, but I find in general, parents seem to have a lot of guilt, that they never think they can do quite enough. There's certainly parents on the other extreme who really don't care, but by far and large, almost all the parents that we see feel like they can't do enough for their kids. So helping them to feel confident about their parenting skills, and parenting a child who's got special needs is even harder. The studies show that mothers with kids with disabilities have shortened telomeres at the end of their DNA compared to mothers of cool kids, just from that level of stress that they're experiencing. So, an important thing to support parents.
I'm sure this is like a it depends question again. Seems like most are, but how often and maybe how do you gauge, like if a parent comes to you with a list of things and you do your initial observations and evaluations and you come up with maybe a different list of things that you feel need to be addressed first, or I mean, how often do you try to redirect, or do you kind of try to blend more? I mean, again, probably could be a situational thing, but do you feel like you have to do a lot of that balancing of what they see as important versus what like a parent sees as important versus what you are seeing as important?
So absolutely, I go with what the parent wants, what the parent sees as important. And the way that I do that, so here I'm thinking, all right, there's all these things going on, and the parent's priority is this up here. Let's say it's their child getting dressed to go to school, and you're thinking, wow, this kid cannot even hardly get their shoe on, they can't get their socks off. And so then what I will do is I will then outline it out for the parent. I said, absolutely, we're going to get your child so they can dress themselves to get ready for school. And here's the things that your child needs to be able to do in order to get out the door. And I will try and create that list together with the parent. So they have to, maybe if the parent is having the child pick out their clothes, is that something they can do the night before? So some of it is problem solving. And then letting them know, here's all the steps that go into it so that they can be successful at whatever it is the parent wants them to do. Because that, again, that's what you guys are learning, how to break down an activity, correct? So here's the activity, here are all the steps that go into it. Because most people don't understand that. They're like, oh, I didn't realize there was so much that went into it, like feeding. Oh my gosh. Yes, when we're talking about feeding, we're talking about what's happening in the mouth. We're talking about position of the body. We're talking about the environment. We're talking about the people around them. We're talking about food, taste, temperature, texture. We're talking about nutritional. We're talking about seating. I mean, a lot of parents are like, oh, I just wanted to feed my baby, So helping them realize that the things that we often take for granted are way more complex than we realize. And so here are the steps that we're going to work on. Because once you have parent buy-in and the parent feels confident and safe with you, that yes, you are going to work on what the parent's concerns are, then you're going to be able to take those next steps sideways and say, and here, these are the other things that I'd like to work on. So once they feel heard and you're addressing what they need, then that really helps them to then understand.
So kind of going off of that, have you ever had any situations where you present all of this information to the parent and they're just like, nope, I don't want to do any of it?
Yes. Yes, and that feels really shitty.
Yeah.
It does, because you're thinking, I just busted my butt.
Yeah.
And excuse me, whoever. So yeah, and that does happen. And that, and again, it's that ability then to be able to step back and reflect and say, I did what I could do. Was there something I could have done differently? Done it in a different way? Don't know, maybe yes or no. I encourage you to use colleagues as for feedback. And we use our team members all the time to say, whoa, did I totally miss something here? Because again, the parents are people too. And so, and I see it especially like with sensory processing challenges, and often more with the father than with the mother, especially if the mother's the one dealing with the child and their challenges on all day long, and the father's more sort of maybe at work all day and only is with the child small amounts, where they're like, no, my child doesn't have any problems, or they have difficulty understanding like what you're talking about, like, you mean my child has a brain disorder? You know, it gets interpreted strange ways sometimes when you're explaining stuff. So often what I've come to realize is that I might be the first messenger. That child's going to show up again somewhere else. And then they're going to hear it from someone else that indeed their child has challenges with, often it's sensory processing disorders, what seems to get kind of pushed to the wayside. And recognize that, yes, they just shot the messenger. It's okay. Maybe on the first time or the second time they've heard it, but they probably will hear it again. And offer it up to the universe and let it go. Yeah, it's hard, especially if you've like done extra work.
Where are your referrals coming from? Where do people take schools? How are they coming to you?
We get a lot of referrals from pediatricians, pediatrician offices. Our babies come through pediatric dentists that do the tongue tie release, from lactation consultants, doulas, midwives. We get a lot of referrals from other parents. Like we have a lot of alumni, shall we say, on Highlands Mommies and other social networks like that. And parents will put out there, I need help with whatever, and parents will refer them to us. We are struggling right now with our preschool referrals. What we are hearing in the community, and I've talked with other practice owners, is that many early intervention programs are using the big home health agencies to provide birth to 3, and then they don't discharge them and they hang on to them. And so then those were often the kids that then would come to us, especially kids who didn't qualify for Part B services, preschool services, but still need something. Then they would come for therapy. But we're hearing that kids are being, no, I'm not going to use that word, are being kept in home health. So a mixed bag of different sources.
Can you expand a little bit more on your role as an OT in a school-based setting and kind of what that looked like, the population you served?
It really depends on the school and the school setting. Some schools, you're an integral part of the classroom, and you're actually almost like a teacher in the classroom, shall you say, where you're setting up different stations, perhaps with kids, or kids who need work on perhaps fine motor, or looking at the overall environment of the classroom, things like that. So you could be right in the middle of it all. Other schools, you come and you take the child out of the classroom and you go somewhere else and you do some therapy with them and you bring them back. Kind of depends on the age of the kid. Definitely preschool, you're more likely to be incorporated into the classroom. And more schools, especially around here, and again, I've worked in schools in Texas and Massachusetts and here, and so it varies very much from district to district. Preschools, you're more likely to be in the classroom itself, working with the child. As kids get older, it depends on whether they're in separate classrooms or whether they're in inclusive classrooms. That makes a difference as well. So as our role as a school OT, really we're there supporting the teachers and supporting academic learning. So what does academic learning mean? That's really different from kid to kid. So what that's going to look like. there are some programs, like especially with older, very developmentally delayed kids, like high school age, there are some programs that are very strong on working on life skills, which my personal bias is absolutely that's what kids should be working on as life skills, so that they can make a cup of hot chocolate, or they can get on the bus, or what are the expectations, and starting that conversation when they are 14, not waiting till they're 18 and have 3 years left or something. So again, that depends on the district and the program. But really, it's about the teachers and the child's academic goals. How can we help them meet that? Okay. What else? Good. Answered them all. That was easy. All right. Well, it's a pleasure to talk to you guys. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you for
really
coming.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you have my email. Feel free to shoot me an email if you think of more questions. I'm happy to. You might remind me who you are and where you were from, but I'm happy to answer any more questions if you have those.
Do you guys do clinical placement?
We do. We do. Yes. I'm not the person in charge of that. So I'm saying that. So I don't, we do level 1 and level 2. We, not as many level 2. Somebody had contacted me about, do you guys do the deck?
Mhm.
Yes. And we ended up not doing that with them, but we would be open to doing something. So absolutely. All right, great.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
All right. I'll venture back out in the snow.
I get scared every time I go into high school. I was like, I slipped in the hallway. I think because there was like water, and no one helped me. I was like, you high school.
Surprised. You will be surprised.
It's terrible.
It
It's
is.
just like,
There's a special place. And you know who like don't.
yeah. No, you have to have a face. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a passing period, and I was like trying to hustle.
Oh.
And I just like my foot slipped tiny.
Quick question before we get going on. She had mentioned the yoga classes.
I want to do that.
Would you guys be
Yeah.
interested in volunteering for that? Okay, I'll reach out to
One day.
her and let her know and see if we can't.
What day?
set-
Do you remember? I meant to ask that after she mentioned it, and then
She said Saturdays.
heck
Yeah.
let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love yoga.
Okay.
I'm really bad
Okay,
at
so
yoga.
I will reach out to her and see if we can't get that set up so you guys can go and get
Yeah.
some volunteers.
Yeah. Love it. All right. Let's get through this. Try to do it nice and fast. Membership is closed until spring 2020. I know there's some of you that I have talked to. Not going to get into that now, but you already know. So I'm going to be emailing everybody. I'm hoping sometime in December. Campus hasn't confirmed yet when membership would open for spring 2020. So when I know, you guys will know. I'll email everybody out about that. And then if you want to become a member in spring 2020, you'd only have to pay $5 as opposed to $10 for the whole year. And then if you already paid your dues before the October 21st deadline, you can qualify for dean's reimbursement. And then a little plug-in, the campus CUSOTA would really like everybody to become a member on CU involved. They're like really pushing that. So I can send how to get into that and stuff when I send out the email later today or tomorrow. It's just so that you guys can get, sorry, switched it. Oh, you're good. It's just so they can kind of keep track of everybody, but I'm going to be sending them like a huge email at the end of the year with volunteer hours and this is who I have and yada, yada, yada. So, attendance reminders. There is no password this go around. The campus cohort had some issues. So, yeah, they did. So they're using an Excel sheet. I have it on the PowerPoint, but I'll also put that in the email, and all you have to do is just put in your name. For you that are here, I can just go ahead and put all your names in. That way you don't have to worry about it this time around. And then if you're unable to watch it here, and you need to watch it later, just watch this recording and then just click on the Excel sheet and put your name in. And you have 1 week to get your attendance in, so November 28th, which is Thanksgiving. So excited. Okay, info on AOTA conference. It's going to be at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center. No idea where that is. The dates are March 26th to the 29th, so I think it's that Thursday through that Sunday. They said that usually on Sunday they don't have a lot going on, so most things are that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday if you're going to go. And it's a great way to just meet practicing OTs, potentially the president. There's a bunch of different speakers, adaptive equipment, research going on, other students. I know a lot of the Cretan faculty go there. I'm really hoping to go. I know nobody in our class went last year, so we're hoping to get a lot of people to go, but we'll see. Early conference to pay, I've been told, is $299, and it must be received by March 4th. They're supposed to be sending information out in December with more details on when you can start paying and sending stuff in. That was just the date that the campus cohort had given. And then late, if you pay late for the full conference, it's $412 if it's received after March 31st. And the daily registration, if you just do 1 or 2 days, it's $200 per day. And then admission into the expo hall is included no matter what you pay for. So if you just do the daily or if you do the full.
Question.
Yes.
You know, on Thursday class, do we get out of science class? What's the
Right.
class?
So most of the time, I know this happened last year, a lot of the classes, they canceled class. I know the campus lectures were canceled. I think maybe labs that week were canceled. So that people can travel. And I know a lot of the professors are probably going to go anyway, so that's why they would cancel class. But more than likely, once syllabi come out in January timeframe, they'll probably have that already written in the syllabi. And the professors are pretty lenient that week anyway, because they know it's happening. So, which is kind of nice. So then going off of that into dean's reimbursement, the amount of reimbursement depends on the number of people that will attend the conference. If you have paid for your membership already and you attend 7 out of the 9 meetings, either live or virtually, you complete 10 service hours before the conference, and they want everybody to attend the dean's dinner. Originally, it was the alumni dinner, but now it's the dean's dinner. I just go off of what campus tells me. And that's that Thursday evening, so that's the first day of the conference that you have to attend that. And if you do all of those things, then you can get a check in summer of 2020 to help pay for that. I know last year, I think they got a check for $200, so nice stipend. I think last time they had a set amount, and then this time it's not a set amount, so I don't know if it's the more people that go, the more money you'll get back, or I'm not quite sure how that all works, but regardless, you can get money back. Honors Cords reminders for the class of 2020 and 2021, you must have 30 hours total before you graduate. And then class of 2022 and beyond, you have to be a member in good standing all 3 years that you're in the program. Membership dues are paid every single year by the cutoff date. You must attend 7 out of the 9 meetings every single year, and then of course the 30 hours of volunteering the entire time that you're in the program. Volunteer. So kind of the same thing. We don't really have a whole lot of new ones. Back on my feet in Denver. I kind of talked to Cam about it. It sounds like they're still doing something with it. All right, have you been going? Okay. Are they doing anything special because it's getting cold out, or
No, they have a bunch of like extra like event. They do a lot of like around the holidays and stuff. They were gonna do like a bowling night and a bunch of other things. I haven't really done any of that, but I mean, I think it could all go toward the same thing.
Yeah.
They had like a big 5K a couple weeks ago, and yeah, they pretty much try to keep it throughout the year. They'll just move like indoor workouts and PE.
Perfect.
So yeah.
Okay, so that's still going on.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Denver Rescue Mission, you can sign up online, serve meals to individuals individuals that are homeless. My Heroes Therapeutic Writing Center in Denver, Claire's here, so if you have any questions, ask her. You help provide therapeutic writing service to children and adults with special needs. And then Urban Peak Meal Groups, kind of the same thing. You sign up online, you can help serve breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This one, they just ask that you sign up in pairs or more. I know a lot of people have asked me, can I bring my significant other? You can bring whoever you want. They just want everybody to sign up in pairs or more. And then outside of Denver, I was informed by an OT3 that there is a Denver rescue mission in Fort Collins. What? Yeah, and it basically works the exact same way. So if you're up north, that's another option for you, Megan. The Ruth Training Center, my heart goes out to them. That's my brother's program. They also have an Etsy account, so if you're looking for like cheap things to buy your family, I'll give you guys that. They make all their products. They make cards. They make little wood products. They have monthly events. They've got, you can volunteer during the week. I know Ellie, you were kind of looking into that maybe. They're a good group. Just a plug-in. Lakewood Therapeutic Rec, they have the monthly dances. Their next one is on December 20th. It is their holiday dinner and dance. They also have been doing the respite care, and I know some people have been doing that. The last one in 2019 is on December 14th from 5 to 8. My hope is this next semester, kind of like how we did My Heroes Trick or Treat Street was our big event. Kind of hoping we can do one of the dances as a big one, because that's what we did last year and they absolutely loved it. So I'm hoping to get kind of their coordinator to come in and talk maybe one of the days and kind of talk about what they do and stuff like that. And then we can either coordinate making decorations again or coming up with games, that kind of stuff. So, and then if we do decide to do decorations and that kind of stuff, if you come and do that, I will also give you guys volunteer hours for that. My Heroes Therapeutic Writing Center in Fort Collins. And then for those of you down south, Pueblo Diverse Industries, again, they make their own products, they get paid. It's a really cool opportunity. I was there for my very first fieldwork experience, and great community down there. Volunteer hour reminders, send your hours to Pam as soon as possible when you get them done. Include the name of the site that you volunteered at, kind of what you did at the volunteer site, and then the number of hours. Kind of like what I said earlier, I'll be sending out reminders as they come up, and then I'm also going to be sending to the campus cohort the hours of volunteering once the semester is done. Third year students, if you have been volunteering, please reach out to me. I have a separate link that you can send in your volunteer hours at. And then just send in your volunteer hours as soon as you can, because if it's not documented, then it technically didn't happen. That's one of the famous words we've heard in this program. Because it's kind of hard to go back and say, oh, I volunteered this many hours way back when, and then I have to go back in and try to finagle it. So just try to let us know as soon as you can. General reminders, our last meeting of 2019 will be on December 5th. In this room at 1 o'clock. We're not going to have a speaker. It's just going to be a holiday party. I might talk a little bit about this stuff, and there's going to be free food. That's what gets you guys here. I will have food. Again, I'm going to be emailing everybody kind of towards the beginning of spring 2020 for our next meeting dates and times. I know the OT2s, we're going to be on campus only on Wednesdays, so more than likely it'll probably be on Wednesdays during the year. But I will get that more set in stone once this semester's done and things calm down a little bit. If you'd like, follow CUSOTA on Instagram. And then if you ever have any volunteer opportunity ideas or know of anybody in the community, I know a couple people have reached out to me about some speakers. Just let us know, and if you have any questions, reach out to the exec team. Yes.
So Cam and I created a Google Doc of everyone who's going to the conference. You can just get like one giant
yes.
and share it. So any OT1s, OT2s who are interested, you can just email myself or Cam.
Okay.
This is how you.
If you want to go ahead and I know you sent that Google Doc, but can you maybe send it again to me, and then I can maybe include it into the email that I sent?
can't create it, but I think I should.
Okay. Okay. If not, just let him know, and then he can send that, and then I can let people know. All right. And happy Thanksgiving, everybody. We're almost done. All right. Thank you.